Once upon a time, there was a girl who loved nature and adventure, and who would one day scale and ski the highest mountain on all 7 continents. Her name is Kit. At the base of a snowy mountain in Telluride, Colorado, a 14-year-old girl named Kit DesLauriers waits for a ski lift. She feels a thrill as the front of the lift bumps against the back of her legs, inviting her to sit. As the lift takes her up the mountain, it's quiet up in the sky, except for the whoosh of winds and steady humming of the chairlift. At the top, she hops off and makes her way to the edge of the mountain. The view is epic. She can see for miles and miles as the white snow glitters on thousands of evergreen trees. Other skiers head for where the mountain slides away, and over they go with wild whoops of joy. They swing their poles and turn back and forth to carve their way down the slope. She takes a deep breath, points her skis forward over the edge, and starts to glide down slowly, then faster and faster. Everything passes by with a blur, and she feels so free and alive. She takes it all in, the crisp mountain air, the sound of the trees moving in the wind, her own breathing in and out, and the cut sound of her skis in the snow. And she realizes something. The snow, the mountain air, the whoosh of the wind, and the sound of her skis, this is her calling. This is where she belongs. I'm Hilaree Nelson, and this is Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, a fairy tale podcast about the rebel women who inspire us. On this episode, Kit DesLauriers, the first person ever to ski down the highest mountain on each continent, the 7 summits. Kit DesLauriers was born in Albany, New York, and grew up in the northeast of the United States. The outdoors played a large role in Kit's life. During the snowy winters, Kit and her family did cross-country skiing, which is when you ski across a flat area. But Kit loved all kinds of sports: soccer, biking, tennis, swimming. The feeling of moving and being free, feeling strong physically, and challenging herself made her feel alive and gave her joy. When Kit was 10 years old, she and her family moved across the country to Arizona, where it was sunny with lots of hot, dry deserts in between rocky hills. When she was 14, she started to downhill ski at a small resort in Arizona, where there was snow in the winter. But sometimes her family would visit Colorado, where there are lots of big, snow-covered mountains. It was in Colorado that Kit first got a taste for skiing down much bigger peaks. This new style was so different from the cross-country skiing she did back east. It was fast and exhilarating. Kit would go up on the mountain on a ski lift and come down it like a rocket. She'd maneuver her skis side to side and stretch her body one way and then another, weaving in and out, whooshing between trees. She loved the feeling of being on the snow, in the woods, on the side of a mountain, and with her family. Hearing the wind and her own breath in her ears. There was no other feeling like it. Right then and there, she vowed that skiing would always be a part of her life. Kit never stopped being active, even when there was no snow around to ski in. She graduated high school and attended the University of Arizona in Tucson, studying French and environmental politics. Even though she loved outdoor adventures, she took her education seriously and attended the university on a full academic scholarship. As a student, she took up trail running and rock climbing in the dry, dusty hills around town. And she loved mountain biking most of all, flying down the trails on 2 wheels. But the snowy, wind-whipped mountains of Colorado called to her. One day, a week before she was going to graduate college and head to the mountains to live, Kit was sitting around reading the classified section of the local newspaper. This is where people would list things for sale. She saw something that caught her eye. Wolf pups for sale. 5th litter, $200. Must provide references. Kit had to go see them. And 1 week later, on the day before her graduation, and after the wolf had grown up a little bit more, she took him home and named him Alta. He was so young and tiny, just 3 pounds. She made a vow to live close to nature, in places a wolf like Alta could feel safe in the human world. A week after Kit graduated college, and after years of visiting Colorado during weekend trips and appreciating its enormous cascading mountain ranges, she and Alta made the move there and settled in, or at least her own version of settling in. Kit got a job as a ski patroller and volunteered with search and rescue. This meant that she skied around Telluride Resort, helping people who got lost or hurt in the winter snow. She even trained to be an emergency medical technician and worked in helicopter rescue. She also worked as a stonemason, building walls, steps, and outdoor landscapes out of stone. And she and Alta made the most of their new mountain home, feeling like they were in their right place too. In 1998, when Kit was about 30, she had a realization. And not surprisingly, she had it on top of a mountain. Kit was exploring in India in the state of Sikkim, a part of the eastern Himalayan mountain range. She had been asked to join an alpine climbing expedition. As she looked around her at the magical snowy expanse of peaks, she found herself missing her skis. Everywhere she looked, she saw lines that she could imagine herself skiing down. It was then and there, at the top of that serene peak in India, that Kit decided she would challenge herself and combine her skills as a mountaineer and a skier. And she would get so good at ski mountaineering that she would be able to ski anything. Throughout the next few years, Kit trained and sharpened her skills. She began to enter competitions and climb and ski other famous mountains around the world. In 2003, Kit became the first woman ever to have a ski descent down Mount Aspiring in New Zealand. And in 2004 and 2005, she even became a back-to-back free skiing world tour women's champion. And still, there would always be more mountains calling to Kit and her skis, including Denali, a 20,000-foot peak in Alaska and the highest mountain in the United States. In May of 2004, Kit and her husband Rob were holed up in a tent at the gateway to the summit of Denali, deep in the heart of Alaska. Kit had met Rob on a ski expedition in Siberia in 1999, and they had been on many adventures together over the years. But this trip to climb up and ski down Denali would prove to be an especially challenging one. Kit and Rob were camped on the side of the highest peak in North America, and they were waiting for the weather to be good enough to start scaling the rest of this massive mountain. The wind sounded like a freight train above their heads. And with wind chill, it was -40 degrees outside. But snuggling down deep in heavy sleeping bags in their tent, it was almost peaceful. They passed the time building a wall of big snow blocks to cut down the wind, reading and playing cards, and watching the mountain, hoping they could head for the summit. That means the very top, soon. But Kit started to doubt herself. The weight was driving her nuts, and she started to say she wasn't even sure she wanted to climb the mountain. Rob pushed back. "Why do you say these things?" he asked. Finally, Kit said, "I know myself. I usually break down and doubt myself once before I resolve to do it." The days dragged on, and the weather stayed bad. Finally, Kit had a conversation with the mountain. "Okay, Denali, great one," she said to the peak. "We don't want to fight. Please grant us safe passage. We need to at least get into position by tomorrow. We mean it." The next day, Kit and Rob climbed to the next camp and planned to summit Denali. But the mountain had other plans, and they were forced to go back and wait even longer. Finally, on May 24th, 2004, after 22 days on Denali, Rob and Kit finally made it to the top after a final 12 hours of climbing. But now they had to ski down. Kit was scared. She thought about all the things that could go wrong. But she took a few deep belly breaths and pushed the doubt away. "Just do what's right in front of you, Kit," she said to herself. And she made gliding turns down the mountain. Now, here is something you might not know. On each continent of the world, there is one mountain that's taller than any other mountain on that continent. These are called the 7 summits. They are Everest, Aconcagua, Denali, the one Kit climbed already, Kilimanjaro, Elbrus, Mount Vinson, and Kosciuszko. Each one is over 7,000 feet tall, with the tallest, Mount Everest, being more than 29,000 feet high. Climbing up these mountains isn't like hiking up any others. It can take days, weeks, even months. It's often extremely cold and icy. And because the mountains are so high up, the air is thinner, making it harder to breathe while working your way up, up, up. But after her adventure on Denali, Kit had decided that she would climb up and ski down all the rest of the 7 summits. She just needed to figure out how. Deciding to ski mountaineer the 7 summits wasn't an easy decision for Kit. She was around 35 years old, and a friend had encouraged her to think about her legacy. She considered her options: going back to school to study landscape design, starting a family. She could do all that, but this would come first. Nobody had skied all 7 of these mountains before, and it was a big unknown if it was even possible. And so Kit went for it. And she started where a lot of good adventures start: Google. Kit researched when and how to scale and ski the 7 summits. What was the best time of year? What equipment would she need? How long would it take? And when would the weather be a perfect mix, allowing her to safely climb up, but snowy enough to ski down? The planning and execution took Kit and her support team more than 2 years. The last of the 7 summits she skied was Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world above sea level. At the top of the world, while she prepared to ski down the last and biggest mountain of them all, she paused in amazement. She had accomplished an incredible goal by preparing hard and never giving up. In that moment, Kit felt like she could cry. She felt an overwhelming joy and deep gratitude for her team, her family, and everyone that was supporting her. Everyone helping her accomplish this history-making mission. When she finished skiing down Mount Everest that day, Kit had become the first person ever in the entire world to ski from the summit of the highest mountain on each continent. And the adventures kept coming. That next year, Kit became a mother. She had a baby girl and then another daughter soon after. And as her daughters grew, Kit began to dream of how to get back into her life of ski expeditions. Since skiing the 7 summits, Kit has fallen in love with another wild place, a specially protected area in far northeastern Alaska. It is called the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and Kit says It is the most beautiful place she has ever been. It is full of untouched lands and amazing animals and plants. So, Kit has adventured to the Arctic Refuge many times, made first ski descents of some of its tallest mountains, and even helped some scientific measurements to help figure out how long the Arctic glaciers will last. Kit volunteers her time with Alaska Wilderness League in an effort to preserve and protect this remote wilderness. And of course, she continues to ski and explore mountains with her husband and daughters from their home in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and around the world. When it comes down to what she's learned, Kit says that we're all more capable than we think, no matter what we set our minds to. She says that as girls and as women, we already have the power inside of us to be brave. And what we do with that bravery, that's up to us.
This podcast is a production of Rebel Girls and is based on the book series Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. This episode was produced by Isaac Kaplan-Woolner and Camille Stennis. Sound design and mixing by Luis Miranda. This episode was written by Caitlin Madrigal and proofread by Simi Kadirgamar. Executive producer is Katie Sprenger. Haley Dapkus is our production manager. Original theme music was composed and performed by Elettra Bargiacchi. A big thanks to the whole Rebel Girls team who make this show possible. For more, visit rebelgirls.com. And if you like what you heard, don't forget to rate and review this episode and share it with your friends. Until next time, stay Rebel.